So let's get into the facts about the Ahmaud Arbery case. Now, my name is Nate Broady, lawyer, YouTuber, and I am a former law enforcement officer. Look at the pic. And I'm a former prosecutor. Now, I've been trained in both law enforcement tactics, and I was an academy instructor, and I trained other officers in those tactics. So that gives me a very unique perspective. And many of you are going to disagree with that perspective for various reasons. I'm going to give you the facts, and I'm going to give you my interpretation of those facts. And it's going to be up to you to judge whether my interpretation is rational and reasonable. So today in this video, I want to address 3 critical questions. 1, was a burglary committed by Ahmaud Arbery? 2, was a lawful citizen's arrest conducted? And 3, which one of the parties has a claim for self-defense? Now, I gotta start this video off straight up and down and say, this is not legal advice. If you need legal advice, you're in the wrong place because I can't help you. This is just commentary. Take it for what it is. So now, with anything, we have to start with the facts. Let's start with the facts, and then let me show you where the facts lead us. So we're looking at video footage from a house across the street from the location in which Mr. Arbery is alleged to have gone in. If you look at the upper right-hand corner of the screen, you'll see Mr. Arbery come into camera view. He'll stop in front of the property, and then he enters the property. This is a video of him entering the property, and him inside. He looks around, and that's it. Now, while he's in the property, you'll see in the upper left-hand corner somebody walk down the street, and this is our 911 caller. This person is going to make a 911 call. So here is the 911 call synced up with the surveillance footage. So let's see if we can watch exactly what happened in real time and listen to the 911 call.
Glen Brunswick Communications, Operator Smith.
Hey, I live out still stores.
Okay.
There's break-ins out here. There's a guy in the house right now. It's a house under construction.
Okay, do you have your address or the other house's address?
Right at Satilla Drive.
And you said someone's breaking into it right now?
No, it's all open. It's under construction. And he's running right now. There he goes right now.
Okay, what is he doing?
He's running down the street.
Okay.
Back into the
Okay, that's fine. I'll get them out there. I just need to know what he was doing wrong. Was he just on the premises and not supposed to be?
Stuff on it. And he's been caught on the camera a bunch before at night. It's kind of an ongoing thing out here. The man that's building the house has got heart issues. I think he's not going to finish it. So.
Okay, that's fine. And you said it was a male in a black t-shirt?
A white t-shirt. Black guy, white t-shirt. And he's done run back into the neighborhood.
Okay, and...
Up front yard.
So now, people going into this construction site is not a rare occurrence. It's not. Check it out.
There are dozens of surveillance videos showing people frequently coming in and out of the house, including children. A white couple entered on the day of the shooting.
Now think about how crazy this is. There are people who went into the house unauthorized that same day that Mr. Arbery went into the house. Now again, we're here about the facts. Fact, Mr. Arbery wasn't the only person to go into that house unauthorized that day. So this is not a rare occurrence. It's not like Mr. Arbery was the only person going in and out of his house. It seems that there are many members of the community going in to this property.
In a statement, English's attorney says this young man may have been coming into the property for water. There is a water source at the dock behind the house, as well as a source near the front.
So we have children. We have a couple on the same day that Mr. Arbery was in there. They were in there too. And then we have Mr. Arbery. So let's talk about the facts. Fact, no items were taken. Fact, the homeowner says nothing was damaged or stolen. Fact, people walked into this home even on that same day. These are the facts. The first question is, well, are all these people committing a burglary? Let's look at the statute and see, are all of these people, these children, this couple, Mr. Arbery, are all of these people committing a burglary? Georgia Code, Section 16-7-1. A person commits the offense of burglary in the second degree when without authority and with the intent to commit a felony or theft therein, he or she enters and remains within a occupied, unoccupied, or vacant building, structure, vehicle, railroad car, watercraft, or aircraft. Now, if the structure is a dwelling, meaning it was designed and intended for occupancy for residential use, then it becomes a first-degree felony, and you can spend at a minimum 5 years in prison, but no more than 25 years. That's the law. So, are these children, is this couple, and are Mr. Arbery committing a first-degree burglary? Should they now be sentenced to 5-year minimum prison sentences? Think about it. The facts are the same. They all did the same thing. They all entered the property, looked around, took nothing, and left. So if these children are committing a burglary, these adults are committing a burglary, and now you're also saying Mr. Arbery is committing a burglary. Now, based on the evidence that we have before us, a home that many people go in and out of, for whatever reason, the fact that nothing's been taken or stolen. Many people in this community like to go into houses under construction. Are they committing trespass, or are they committing a first-degree burglary subject to 5 years imprisonment?
Now, we could all agree that these people entered this property unlawfully, but did they have the intent to commit a theft, or did they have the intent to commit a felony?
It's laughable that people even suggest that Mr. Arbery committed a burglary. It's laughable. Think about it. No one's ever said he's stolen anything. How does he have the intent to commit any crime? So either we come to the conclusion, all these people have committed burglary, all these people should be prosecuted, police should be looking for them because they've committed first-degree felonies.
There are dozens of surveillance videos showing people frequently coming in and out of the house, including children. A white couple entered on the day of the shooting.
Or none of these people committed a burglary. I think that's the more reasonable assumption to make.
Just to be clear, I don't believe these children or this couple had the intent to steal or the attempt to commit a felony just by going into the property. And I also believe Mr. Arbery doesn't have that intent either. There's no difference between what they did and what Mr. Arbery did.
So now we have to talk about citizen's arrest.
Now, the claim here is that these men were trying to conduct the citizen's arrest of Mr. Arbery because they believed that he had just committed the felony of burglary.
Now, there we'll look at Georgia Code Section 17-4-60, where it says plainly, a private citizen may arrest an offender if the offense is committed in his presence or within his immediate knowledge. Now, this makes sense because this is essentially saying you need probable cause to make an arrest, especially for something like a misdemeanor. You have a misdemeanor, you're there, you witness it, you can effectuate a citizen's arrest, and that would be a lawful arrest. But we have another sentence. It says if the offense is a felony and the offender is escaping or attempting to escape. So it gives us two requirements. One, that the offense be a felony, and if the offender is escaping or attempting to escape. Now here, we know we don't have a felony. The offense is not a felony. I don't think anybody can make a rational argument that it is, based on the evidence that we've seen. So Mr. Arbery didn't commit a felony, but he was escaping. Right? He was attempting to escape, but it wasn't a felony. So it seems like they're barred from this next line in the statute, which says a private person may arrest him upon reasonable and probable grounds of suspicion, but there was no felony. So if someone runs away after committing a misdemeanor, then state law doesn't authorize you to chase them down and arrest them. If they commit a felony, different circumstances. So, just a quick recap. Mr. Arbery didn't commit a burglary. None of these other people committed a burglary. And since Mr. Arbery did not commit a felony, burglary, the citizen's arrest statute is not available to the McMichaels and their accomplice. So this is the problem with a citizen's arrest. This is what I used to tell my officers, this is what I used to tell my students, and this is what I'm going to tell you. Simply put, if you're wrong about your citizen's arrest, you have just committed a crime. You've committed probably a felony, kidnapping, for instance, false imprisonment, If the person's hurt, you've committed assault. If the person dies, you've committed murder. That's why a citizen's arrest is something that I would tell anyone not to make, because if you're wrong, you've got a problem. How serious is this problem? Well, let's turn to Georgia state law again. Section 16-5-41, false imprisonment. A person commits the offense of false imprisonment when, in violation of personal liberty of another, he arrests, confines, or detains such person without legal authority. And if you're convicted of this, you get to spend no less than 1 year in prison. So in the circumstances we have now with Mr. Arbery, he was attempted to be arrested and they didn't have authority under the citizen's arrest statute. They were committing a false imprisonment under Georgia law. They were arresting him and they weren't authorized to do so under Georgia law. So they also committed a felonious assault while trying to conduct this arrest, which now has turned out to be felony false imprisonment. They injured Mr. Arbery. That's assault. Then Mr. Arbery was killed. That's felony murder. While in the commission of a felony false imprisonment, trying to effectuate that false imprisonment, they injured Mr. Arbery, shooting him. That's the assault. While committing one felony, they killed the guy. Now, felony murder is, every state has their version of felony murder. Obviously, it makes sense. If you go to a bank and rob the bank and kill somebody by accident, then you're responsible for that death. You were in the middle of robbing a bank. The same thing here. It's the same principle. So yeah, they've committed felony murder. Remember, I said we're going to try to address 3 questions. The last thing is self-defense. Let's talk about facts. In the state of Georgia, Georgia Code Section 16-3-20 talks about the use of force and how the use of force works in the state of Georgia. Now, without going into the specifics of the statute, particularly, people can use physical force if physical force is used against them in an unlawful way, obviously. So if someone is trying to use physical force to maybe harm you or something, then you can use physical force to protect yourself. And there are obviously different provisions within the statute that allows you to use physical force for your own protection or protection of others, so forth. The statute is clear that there are certain times where people cannot use physical force. For instance, if you're attempting to committing, or fleeing from the commission or attempted commission of a felony. So in our bank robbing scenario, if you rob the bank and you're running out the bank and the cops try to arrest you or try to stop you, and the cop pulls a gun and says, "Freeze," and you go and you punch the cop and run away. You can't then claim, "Hey, it was self-defense because the cop was pointing a gun at me and I punched him." No, you were in the commission of a felony. Of course, you don't have any right to self-defense. You have a right to be stopped. Also, if you're the initial aggressor, you can't then go to court and claim self-defense, right? If you go punch somebody in the face and they punch you back, you can't go to court and say, "Well, hey, I was just defending myself." No, you were the initial aggressor. When you are the initial aggressor, you have no claim to self-defense. Now, obviously, there's some fine details, but these are just the general principles. So in our case now, well, we know that Mr. Arbery wasn't committing a felony. He wasn't committing a felony. He was just running away. Now, since he wasn't a fleeing felon, he now has all the rights against use of physical force. He has a right to defend himself. But what about the McMichaels? Well, the McMichaels were in the commission of a felony, right? That felony was false imprisonment. So now they've lost their right to claim self-defense. They were in the commission of committing a felony. That felony was false imprisonment. So at that time, Mr. Arbery, lunging at the people with the guns, had every right under Georgia law, it looks like, to defend himself, to self-defense. He had every right under Georgia law to defend himself. But now, what about the McMichaels, the people with the guns? They were the ones who actually were committing the felony. So they had no right to self-defense. They just didn't. So at the end of the day, now you know why the McMichaels are charged with false imprisonment, why they're charged with assault, and why they're charged with felony murder. And now you know why their accomplice, the person who shot the video, is charged with felony murder, and he's also charged with false imprisonment because he was trying to imprison Mr. Arbery, and in commission of that felony, Mr. Arbery was killed. So I hope this clears it up, and I know there's probably going to be a lot of questions in the comment section. Listen, I'm telling you from my own experience. Now, I don't practice in Georgia, so this is my reading of Georgia law, but it's clear to me Mr. Arbery was murdered. It's just as clear. Now, the jury system is what it is. They might get off them, but based on the facts that I just shown you now and that I've seen in the way I'm looking at them, Mr. Arbery was murdered. He was murdered because the McMichaels and their accomplice were trying to commit a citizen's arrest. And that citizen's arrest was unlawful, and therefore it turned into a false imprisonment, and in the commission of that felony, he was killed. Hey, let me know if you think I'm wrong. If you think that I'm incorrect in my assessment, please let me know. Leave a comment down below. Let me know how you feel. Now, if you watched the video to this particular point, I'd appreciate if you like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Become a member of the channel. Hit the join button. I'd really appreciate that. And if you like what you just heard, make sure you come back for some more great content. Because here, I'd rather look at the facts than the fiction. And I just smacked you with the facts. See you next time.